we by nature are affected by outside forces, and that should bring us first to what came before us. The whole purpose of this talk and the next couple of talks to come is essentially trying to bring your focus to a fine point in order for you to be able to light the dark within yourself. And hopefully the results of that is that light coming out of you, and you ultimately finding a gift within yourself that is that light, and presenting that light to the world as a gift or a skill. But like I said, the starting point is going to be your attention and focus. And that's the most important thing that we have. It's in a it's in a phrase, pay attention. It costs. And where your attention goes, energy flows. We know this saying, and we really going to get deep into that. This is an introduction to ideas to results, power in the mind's eye. And we're going to be taking a wild journey, trust and believe me, a long journey on how things start in the mental first and then transform into the physical. And the starting place for this is going to be what was here before us, what was here before human beings. And to get to that point, you got to ask the question, what do we need in order to survive? And when you ask this question, a lot of things automatically should get eliminated from your head. One of the things that should be getting eliminated from your head is technology. Phones, electronic devices. This era that we living in, the times that we living in, is full of uncertainty. And due to the effects of technology and our electronic devices, they're starting to become one with us. We go into a frenzy if we was to leave our house and drive down the street and realize that our phone isn't in the car, or our phone isn't in our pocket. Think about that. Think about the last time you left your phone somewhere and it wasn't on you. What was the feeling you had? And we got to ask another important question. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, honestly speaking? The reason why I present these questions to y'all is to shed light on distractions and what distractions can lead to. It can lead to procrastination. It can lead to stagnation. And ultimately, the effect that is leading to is a mental health crisis. This is the most healthiest society has been from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, this is the worst it's been in a really long time. Why is that? Questions are important. And later on in the series, you're going to realize why questions are extremely important. It sheds light on things that was once dark to you. That's why it's very important to ask questions. But getting back to the point, the natural world presents us with a lot of blessings. And there's two worlds that I'm going to be talking about in particular, and that's the natural world and the personal world. But right now, the focus is on the natural world. And just to put it in a framework of the natural world, we are a makeup of every single thing that came before us. So if water didn't exist, we can't possibly exist. One of the things I named earlier was trees. If trees didn't exist, we wouldn't exist. There's so many things that were set in place before we got here in order for us to be in this predicament. So a lot of things also that we got to pay attention to is the subtleties that life provides us in any given moment. In spite of the good, bad, ugly, and indifferent, that the world and the universe in itself is providing a service to us 24/7. So this should go to show that there is a spiritual element at play also, and that this planet has consciousness that we living in because we have consciousness. And not only that, the earth didn't create consciousness, it generated its consciousness from outside source as well. And if you keep tracing these things back, it's going to lead you back to your creator. And a lot of y'all got to take time out of y'all precious day and take the time out to spend time with yourself, to understand what has been said to you guys for the last 7 minutes or so. And once you take the time out to understand the nature of who you are and come back to yourself and look around you and look at the state of the world and the climate that the world is in right now, you should be feeling alarmed. You should be feeling like you are off track somehow. And the most dangerous life to live is an example of somebody else instead of living your own life. And a few people walk that path, a very, very few in human history. But I'm going to tell every last one of y'all the absolute truth. It is our job to live our life that was given to us individually, not collectively. Because no matter what, it shows collectively in our conscious. And if we trace ourselves back all the way to the beginning, we are going to find the birthplace of light for all things. Once you get back to your creator. This is how important focus is. At this point, we're going on 9 minutes and we barely scratched the surface, to be quite honest with you guys. But knowing these things is important. Your attention is important. And your focus is important. That's the only effort that's required for this. It's not physically demanding, but it will be demanding on your mental to help you build strength and who you are for real, for real. The definition of natural is existing in or caused by nature, not made or caused by humankind. That's very important to understand, and you'll realize the potential that you hold within your body. Your body is a reflection of the world around you. And what you see around you, you react to. Think about how you use your electronic devices. And speaking on the electronic devices, that also came from the natural world. These are materials that came from this earth that we standing on, that we blessed to be standing above. And with every breath that we take and every step that we take, we should always keep our purpose in mind and not take it lightly. Because in today's day and age, it's really easy to lose track of yourself and get caught up in a whirlwind of media and dead scrolling for hours and not realizing how much precious life just went by that you can never relive again. So 4 factors that's very important to take into account to is space, time, energy, and matter. Time is important because it highlights sequence of events, a snapshot. If you think about cameras and taking pictures and looking at videos, those are snapshots of a moment you experienced in time. You can go back and look at a snapshot of 4 or 5 years ago, even though you're not in that moment right now. It passed by. It's going. And even though you're not living in it now, it still existed at one point. And when we look up in the sky and look up at a starry night, we're looking in the past. It takes light 8.5 minutes to reach us from the sun. And I always use this as an example that if the sun just so happened to turn the lights off, we wouldn't know until 8.5 minutes later. I think we'll feel the effects definitely right away. But I think the distance that light travels from the sun is like 94 million miles, which is a lot. That number's crazy. So with that being said, we can trace everything back to a point. And we can look at this from 2 different aspects, depending on your personal lens, power of the mind's eye. You can look at it from one lens of the Big Bang Theory, that everything emanated from a light and expanded, and as everything flows in space, everything is getting more separate from itself and getting pulled away by gravity. Or you could look at it, like I said, from a religious sense. In Genesis 1:1, like the very first line in the Bible, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, which is a very, 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 very important line. First off, it shows the mental workings of God first. And then after that, it shows the manifestation of the mental workings of God, where something you can actually see and experience, which is very, very important. And going on a very, very opposite end of that, with the Big Bang Theory, those 2 point to the same point, that everything originated from a light, and that light emanated everywhere immediately, because simply that's how light works. In the very, very beginning of this, I talked about using the power of the mind's eye to shine that light within yourself, to be able to emanate that light within yourself into the world and provide a service and provide a skill, just to start bringing this full circle and think that I'm just talking and rambling. But this is going to take some time to build upon. And we're going to have to start off with a solid foundation. And I don't want to be talking fast because I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. But activating the highest version of yourself is important, especially in a time right now where there's going to be a whole lot of misinformation going on. There's going to be a whole lot of people being deceived. And there's going to be a whole lot of people that's not going to have discernment to be able to live off of moral excellence, which is the most important thing. And living off moral excellence starts with love. And you got to have love for the Creator first before you can absolutely have love for yourself, to know where love comes from. And in order for you to impact the world like how you're supposed to impact the world, you need to deeply understand that and not be affected by the world outside of you. Once you understand the Creator within you and the mental workings of God. So time shows the sequence of events. And like I said, when you look out into a starry night, you're looking into the past of how the universe came into existence. And that's your past history even before you existed. That's the natural world. That's a part of the Earth's history. It predates the Earth's history the further you look out. It predates the sun's history the further you look out. And if you do the same type of reflection within yourself, you're going to recognize the same thing. And the whole point is to find that light within yourself and to take practical means on activating it. But like I said, it's important to understand these things before you jump into the race. Patience, endurance, perseverance, persistence. And if you think about the universe and the time scale of the universe and the billions of years that they said that the universe existed in, what's 100 years to that? We are in the right spot at the right time to be able to do what we're doing right now. What a time to be alive. And you're probably not being encouraged to live on. You're probably being encouraged to survive instead of thrive. And thinking that surviving is that preset that we have. And it's not. We long past that in order to get where we are right now. But we can't take steps backwards. And you can do something about that. The second thing out of the four is energy. Energy is the potential of the universe. There is a force that contains elements that allows for the transformation of all things. A seed actually represents the value of this transformation perfectly. Energy, when harnessed the right way, has the power to build or destroy. A mustard seed is very small and needs to be nurtured in a certain environment at a certain temperature in order for it to blossom into the tree that it was destined to be. The transformative act allows for the wheels to be able to make its revolution, but it needs to be powered. Max potential is not always achieved, and sometimes it's not necessary. Within all bodies lie this source, which is what is the core to all things that exist due to the fact that this force cannot be created or destroyed. This force gives way to things being transformed into something else. And we can see this into something else that I'm going to be getting into later on is solids, liquids, and gases. Energy transforms elements within these things. Think about steam, think about water, and think about ice. Think about us, we need energy in order to do what we have to do. And that predates us as well. We need nutrients in our body that burn off fuel. If we're running low on energy, we can feel that. If we're high on energy, we can feel that. This is why it's very important to take note what's happening within your body. And also having the power to take note of what's happening with like outside of yourself simultaneously, because we're built like that. The third thing to take account for is space. And that's the location of events and things. The space that all things occupy is very important. Without this faculty, our planet would cease to exist. It needs the solar system in order to flow through the cosmos. We normally point to the immediate surrounding when it comes to the center of the monad. And just to describe the monad, first time of me saying this, the monad by definition is a single unit. But in the context of how I'm using it for the power of the mind's eye, is the source of all things. Essentially light. But we're going to replace the original light with the monad, the single unit that holds all creation that was ever to be created within that original source. Like I said, we're getting deep. We're 21 minutes in. It's getting real, people. Thank y'all for hanging on. It's going to get realer. I'm guaranteeing it. But the nature of space carries dark elements to it, with it containing the mysterious powers of the center, which is the monad. And everything emanates from that. Space serves as a home for all bodies, whether in the microcosm or in the macrocosm. So whether that's the cells in our bodies, our DNA, or celestial bodies like Venus, Mars, the moon, or our whole entire solar system, if you want to include that, that's still occupying space. So that lets you know how expansive space actually is from the monad. The fluidity, of this force allows for the flow of all of these bodies to travel and develop during their travel in one harmony as well. So everything revolves around the monad, that central point. The expansion of the light naturally creates space for new light to be developed. This space is covered in darkness to the human eye. It contains the energy required for the development of the first world, which is the world that we're talking about right now, the natural world, the objective world that our human eye sees first. But our mind's eye sees something else different. And a lot of us aren't looking through the lens of our mind's eye. We're looking through the lens of our physical eyes. But we need to recognize that the Creator gifted us with a more powerful lens if we learn how to tap into the Creator that's within us. We're going to realize that that's the Creator of all things, and you're not the creator of anything. You're just a vessel to bring creation out and shine a light on the Creator itself. You are a reflection of what you see. Going to the fourth one, matter, which is the physical substance. So the physical substance fills in all the space. All space is occupied. It's occupied by bodies of all things in the microcosm and macrocosm. going back to that, these bodies are the wheels that have the role of heading towards their predestined course, which is guided by the light within and without. The physical world is the end result of a series of coming together and separation, changing what the body does and what it is over time. Matter also carries an end due to this separation aspect, which causes the death and rebirth process that's also contained in the center of the monad. The circumference of the monad represents the substance that lies at the border and which is connected yet separated from the creator. Matter is the furthest from this point. No spaceship can be fast enough to get us to that point. The mysteries lie within the bodies occupying the microcosm and macrocosm of the universe. That was a lot to be said, and you might have to go back and re-listen to that a couple times. Like I said, yet again, there's going to be a lot of things being repeated on this. This will demand your attention and it will demand your focus, which right now is a challenge for majority of people in the world. A lot of these things I have this written out, but I realize that people are nowadays visual learners, and that's not a bad thing. It's just important to simply learn. But going back to the physical substance and the physical substance changing over time, you are no longer that baby that you once was. If you are a teenager, you're not going to be a teenager forever. You're going to eventually be pushed into adulthood because that's how things work. The only constant that's going to be in your life is change. Another constant within that change is the light. And you must light the dark within yourself. That's going to be able to help you see much clearer in the world that's outside of you. And also help you be able to carve a path that's outside of you, because you're going to recognize what that source is. And you're going to know how to use that source to benefit you and also your community that's around you. That is the four functions or four forces: energy, time, space, and matter. And think of the natural world as existing before us, before humans. And also think of the natural world as the first world, the world that was objectively put here. And also think of this natural world as a world that was meant for us to be in as well, and not meant for us to be somewhere else. That is the most important takeaway that I hope you guys get from this. And in the next one, we're going to be moving on to the second world, which is our personal world, which is going to be me diving into our 5 senses. Serve our purpose. Deuces.